Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, is Brian and Hanno. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Howdy. So this week is going to be an extra kind of crazy week, or at least the topic's going to be talking about something a little crazy, which is Mania. Ooh, Mania. Maniac on the floor. No, I kid. But
bucket of water. Where's your bucket of water? I want to see some wet hair flying.
No, silly.
No, oh, man.
It is a
Chips.
great.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's all I signed up for.
It is an awesome scene. But no, actually, the last 3-4 weeks or so. In hindsight now, because I can never tell when I'm in it, but in hindsight, I had a manic episode, a manic period. And it's interesting. So I figure we can talk a little bit more about this today and go into further details. But just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight as to my week up to the last few weeks and even my week up to this point, starting pretty much right before the wedding, I've not been sleeping. I sleep maybe 2-3 hours at a time, and I would get little snippets of sleep. Well, the last few days, I've been sleeping my little heart out. My life kind of caught up to me, I guess. And, so my normal 8 to 10 hours is back in action. So, and I can't seem to sit and not do anything without falling asleep. So, I'm back to my old usual self. So that's what I've been doing the last few days or so. Because I know we just recorded on Sunday, so it's only been a couple days since we talked.
Yeah.
But yes, so I've been sleeping. How about you guys? Who wants to go next? How you been? Crickets.
Yeah.
I'll go. Since Brian went first last time, you know what? We're just gonna have to just swap.
Yeah.
Just round robin it.
He gets 1 week, I get the next week. Yeah.
All right.
I have a win for the week, which was yesterday. I went into work and there was something I had discovered on Monday that really needed to be fixed, but it was going to require digging a really big hole in the ground, and we've had some snow off and on, but it was just one of those things where, you know what, I'm just going to do this. You know, I brought it up with my boss, and he just kind of looked at me like, oh, great. And I'm like, you know, we'll just go in there and take care of it. And so I asked one guy who'd already worked on it, you know, like, so how far did you go down? And when he said, I was like, okay, he didn't go down far enough. So I got in there and I ended up digging a hole up to my waist, basically, by noon.
Jeez.
Oh my god!
And somewhere around 10 o'clock, I started to get a headache. And it was like by lunchtime, it was like my head hurt so bad. I was just chowing down Tylenol. And then in the afternoon, I was muddy and dirty, but got it totally going, fixed. Not going to be a problem over the winter, right? Like, not going to create a giant ice flow. Felt really good, felt awesome about it. But the headache did not go away. And by like almost quitting time, I was like hitting the Tylenol even some more. And I had workout class on Tuesday night with Angela. And I did not want to go, but I just, chugged down a Red Bull, like I said, some more Tylenol, went to class. And I was in one of those moods where I looked like I was ready to kill something, but it was just, I just wasn't in the mood to express myself.
Yeah.
And just, everything I just looked surly, I felt surly. But I knew it was going to be worth it if I could do the class. And the class was horrible. I'm not bad. It was just, It was a hard class. It was like a step class. So we'd go do a station, and while your partner is on a bench, doing step stuff for a minute, which you don't think is that bad until about 40 seconds, and you're like, oh, my legs. But my headache went away, because I knew it would. And my mood didn't improve necessarily, but, I left feeling better than I did before. I felt like I earned the day.
Yeah.
It was good, and I got home and I did a podcast last night, and then I just went and soaked in the bathtub for like 3 hours. I was playing my video game on my iPad, and the water was hot, and I just kept, adding more water. And next thing you know, it was like Sharon's like, she's like, it's almost 1 a.m. What are you still doing in there? I'm like, wow, I guess I should get out.
Yeah. You're like, I'm transitioning to a merman.
Yeah, exactly. But it just felt good. It felt good to do what I'm supposed to do regardless. Now, rather than, my last few months, I've been more often than not going, bleep it, out of here.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. And to just go, no, I'm going to do it. And it's just every time I do something like that, it encourages me to keep doing what I need to do. So, and then today I went.
Really quick, I know. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, I would imagine that it's probably good to get yourself in practice for that, or to stay that way, because as the weather gets worse, do you get more likely to say meh and just like have that attitude?
No, because like I'm going to ski this year.
Oh, okay.
And so every Friday will be an exercise day.
Oh, okay. Because and a lot of people would do that. As the weather gets worse. That's why, we talked on here before about seasonal depression and such. How kind of as the winter comes on, a lot of people get more lackadaisical, or not lackadaisical, lethargic. That's the word I was looking for. So.
Well, you get home and it's dark.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? It's 5 o'clock and it's black already. It's like,
yeah.
You're just like, can I just go to bed now? I mean, I get that.
Yep.
But the thing there's something about having, skiing right here. I have a pass at work, although this year we're having to throw in some money for it, but it's worth it. What it does then is I will go and do a workout during the week so that I keep kind of my condition.
Mm-hmm.
And so it keeps me out of that. This last year I didn't ski once because I was going to supposedly, finish this album. Bah! Yeah, that worked out. But then I did notice myself being more, like, what's the word? Hunkering down, hibernating.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that activity that I really look forward to doing every week. And so it's one of the things I love to do is my drummer Dave. I love to meet him or just somebody else, and the conversations we have going up the lift, is always fantastic. Where I love to go ski with somebody that I know can have good talks with. So,
nice.
So I'm tempted not to do that. But today I need new tires for my truck, and I went down. And I'm just like, I just don't have the money for it, and that sucks. That was the one thing this week where because I brought it up before, where it's like, I don't want this debt anymore, but I'm like, I don't have the money for this, and my truck's literally falling apart. I'm like, I'm gonna need a new car, and it's still like, wow, this is still my reality.
Yeah,
I'm in a state of even though my life is full of abundant. I mean, I cannot say, my life is abundant.
Yeah.
How can I say it isn't? I have so many blessings. I have so many wonderful things to be happy for, so many things to look forward to every week. Yet something financial comes along, and it's like, I don't have it.
At least there is, if you were to take on, debt to get a vehicle, at least that's, you're not like taking on payments on a new computer or something to where you could have gotten by no problem, given where you live, I would imagine, reliable transportation is very important because, you don't want to get stranded somewhere.
Snow.
Yeah. So, at least there is that about it. It's kind of a necessity buy versus you're not taking on something just ridiculous. Like, I don't know what, a really, really expensive guitar or something that you don't need. You just really want it. I guess it depends on what car you get.
Well, that's true. But yesterday there was something up on eBay that I'm like, oh, I've wanted that for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the price that it sold for was the new set of tires for my truck.
Ah, of course it was.
And I'm so glad. I'm like, nope, I need new tires more than I need.
Yeah.
Like, no. But yet I still have that part of me that just wants to.
Yeah. You just want to accumulate.
There's nothing wrong with getting bummed either. So, don't be too hard on yourself, because I think often we don't allow ourselves to feel sad or feel frustrated because we look at everything else that we have and we're like, oh, rich person problems and stuff like that, first world problems. And you almost feel bad for feeling bad about things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, allow yourself to like, this sucks. Yeah, everything else might be going amazing, but this one point does suck. And that's
yeah. I'd rather feel that way because it keeps me focused on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy. So here's an interesting paradox. How I try to be really glass half full. I try to be in gratitude. I try to do all that just because I feel better as a human. I feel I'm a better person to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there is a part that gets kind of pink cloud-like with that it's easy to dismiss the things that aren't so bueno.
Yeah.
And that aren't so good. And, when you're sitting here going, life is great. It's like, and you're right. It is good every once in a while to have that little bit of a reality check and go, no, there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
I just don't need to wallow in it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, this sucks. No problem.
Yeah.
That's a fact. It's not even an opinion. It's a fact. It sucks.
Actually, you know what? That's a great way of looking at it. It goes back to, 12-step programs when we do a personal inventory.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a judgment. It's just an inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fact-finding mission because you cannot know what you need to improve on until you know what you have, what you're working with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to pass judgment on my debt. I just have to look at it and go, okay, that's there. let's remember this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Working on it.
It can give you a great point of reference going forward. It keeps your perspective right going forward too, you know, because maybe you get to a point where you're kind of like, doing this and this for the financial stuff is, you know, cramping my style or whatever. And then you think back to now and going, yeah, but if I keep doing that, one of these times I may not be able to take on, you know, I may not be able to go get tires on credit, or I may not be, you know, and then what? Now I'm driving on tires that are dangerous, and, you know, so it's like you said, I think those are the only ways you can, you know, are the best ways you can frame it, because you keep yourself moving forward with both of those, you know.
True.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's why I brought it up.
Yay! Good points. Yeah. Very good points. How about you, Brian? How's your week been?
Pretty uneventful. I haven't really done a whole lot. Yeah.
Same old.
I have stuff I should have gotten done. I've been really bad about putting stuff off again. This, when it goes back into last week too, I've just, you know, I'm back to the, like, putting off phone calls and doing shirt designs for Salty Language that, you know, aren't that hard. I just need to sit and do them. I talked about this, I think, a few weeks ago, and it's just a matter of just doing it. And I just haven't felt like it. I've just had no want to really do a whole lot of anything. You know, I don't know if it's that I'm going through kind of a spiral at the moment, or if I'm just, I just think it's just a, you know, just a kind of a normal feeling for me. It's just that, you know, these lulls are, you know, it doesn't feel like a depression kind of thing, because I'm, you know, or that's like a full on, you know, type thing. It just feels like kind of a minor wave of just, it feels more lazy than depression, you know, if that makes sense, you know, it just.
Yeah, that's a good, at least that's a good realization.
Yeah. It just, because I'll be doing something else, and I'll be like, I really should be doing this instead. With depression, it would normally be I'd be laying in bed and then beating myself up for not doing, you know, and that's kind of that fine line difference there, is I'll be playing a video game going, I really should be in the other room, you know, posting a podcast, or I should be in the other room, you know, working on shirt designs or something like that, you know. And it isn't that I feel like I'm wasting my time on the video games. It's just why am I able to do one thing, but I'm putting off something else? It just, you know.
Yeah.
And it isn't even like this is more fun necessarily. But I mean, there is an element of that to it, because of, as I've talked on here plenty of times about my issues with, you know, creating, is that I've got a significant, like, block in front of me, but I have ideas for the shirts. It's not even like I have to sit down and brainstorm, maybe throw some thumbnails together. Like, I already know what I want to do for 2 of them. And it's just a matter of sitting down in Photoshop and doing the work. And I just don't want to. And realistically, it shouldn't be all that difficult. You know, it's, you know, scanning a picture, applying a few layers, put some text down, voila, it's done. I mean, it's, you know, stuff that you do in like your first Photoshop class in graphic design school, you know, like this isn't even like high level stuff, you know. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've just
make a goal for yourself.
Well, I try that, you know, and it's just, I just don't care. I'm in that point where I'm just like, you know, so I don't know. Hopefully it'll pass, and if not, I'll have to reevaluate and see if, I don't know, figure something out to try to get going again. But, that's a good plan. That's been about it, you know, so that, and well, it also hasn't helped that the last few days I've had sinus headaches because of the weather change. You know, that never helps. Because that makes me, all I want to do then is lay around, you know, like right now, I've got a brutal headache right now. And it's funny, as Henno was telling that story about digging the ditch with that headache, and I'm like, I was actually almost like, I don't know if I want to podcast tonight. So thanks, Henno, for that perspective.
Nice.
And I was like, I did all the things, and I'm sitting here like, I don't know if I can sit in front of a microphone for an hour. So, yeah. But that's pretty typical. I usually try really hard to push through those for podcasts anyway. So yeah, that's about it for me.
Well, that kind of brings us, I guess, to our topic. So mania is not a disorder on its own. It's a symptom. It's a symptom most commonly associated with bipolar and bipolar disorders. And what mania is, there's signs of mania. I've got a few different options to choose from here. So I bear with me for a second here.
Okay, now really quick, it's not it's usually found in bipolar, but it's not exclusive to bipolar, correct?
It's not exclusive to bipolar, but it's very, 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 very pretty much almost all the time associated with bipolar.
Okay.
Like, if you have a manic episode, that's the first thing that they look at.
Oh, okay, right. That makes sense.
They look at bipolar. The symptoms of mania include elevated mood, inflated self-esteem, decreased need for sleep, racing thoughts, difficulty maintaining attention, increase in goal-directed activities, and excessive involvement in pleasurable activities. Hey. You guys know what that means. These manic symptoms significantly impact a person's daily living. So, a manic episode, it's not a disorder in and of itself, but rather is diagnosed as a part of a condition called bipolar disorder. A manic episode is a mood state characterized by a period of at least 1 week when an elevated, expansive, or unusually irritable mood exists. A person experiencing a manic episode is usually engaged in significant goal-directed activity beyond their normal activities. People described a manic mood as feeling very euphoric, on top of the world, being able to do or accomplish anything. The feeling is like extreme optimism, but on steroids. Sound about right? So, from personal experience, I can check mark just about every single one of them. I don't have the irritable swings that some people do when it comes to mania, but I also don't have many people that are standing in my way or, stopping me basically, or trying to stop me to cause me to get irritated with them. So, which is good and bad. Good because I don't get irritated and I'm usually very jovial and a lot of fun to be around, but bad because mania, one of the big parts of mania that's not mentioned in that initial article is you have very little decision-making skills when you're manic. And it's very akin to having such extreme adrenaline in your system that you can't make good decisions.
Yeah.
You may luck into a good decision, but you're not making good decisions, if that makes any sense.
You're not processing things. You're not putting it through your right-wrong scenario in your head a lot of times. It's just like something is put in front of you and you're like, ooh, and you do it. And, cause
exactly.
I obviously haven't had it to where you did, but the 2 times with this medicine that I'm on, when I first went on it and then when I was off of it and went back on it, both times I noticed, that it definitely gave me a lot of those symptoms, So in the first ones the first time it was worse, and I talked about it on here, about how it basically, I was like redlining for a week and how I was like, yeah, I want this to end, like I don't like this because I know the crash is going to be awful at the end of it.
Yeah. Try weeks on end. It's interesting.
Yeah. So I say it's a rare situation where I actually could kind of step into that without having, without having bipolar. I actually got to kind of step into that world and was like, yeah, I don't like this.
I mean, it almost brings, like, when I was first diagnosed with bipolar, and I was telling the doctor about my manic state, and he told me that I have to take medicine to prevent that from ever happening again. It brought tears to my eyes.
Mm.
That's how good it feels. I mean, it's freaking amazing, people. It's horrible for you, but man, is it amazing. You feel like you are the coolest person, the most attractive person, the epitome of human being. Your self-esteem is through the roof. You can do no wrong, make no wrong decisions, and you know everything.
So cocaine, basically.
Basically. It's like your brain does...
When I did lots of speed
yes.
in my early 20s, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's... People have equated it to cocaine. They've equated it to adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. That same high, that same euphoria that you get from extreme sports and daredevil type activities and stuff, or drugs.
Yeah.
They all can mimic very similar feelings in your system. Mania is the one that lasts. It's just a natural occurring state that lasts, like it said in the article, over a week.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets periods of this, very short little snippets throughout life. It just happens, these euphoric moments. But what makes the difference is the mania is like extended, and there is no down in between. It is like a week straight, if not longer. For
just
me, it's
redlining.
Yeah. For me, this time was about a month. The last time was years ago, and that was for months on end.
Yeah. It's very much in this aspect, it's very much like kind of the opposite of depression, but it lasts the same amount of time. Like, instead of me being incredibly down for a few months, you're incredibly up for that amount of time. And both of them are both terrible, you know, and because, you know, they're extremes. And, like, watching you go through that, it was exhausting to watch because there was no down. You know, it was like I'd get up and the house was like super clean because you were like, this needs clean and this needs clean and this needs clean and this, and it was just bang, boom, boom, right from one thing to the other. It was an amazing thing to watch. And I don't mean in a good way. It's just amazing as in like, wow, this is not right. You know, and then, like I said, that short time when I had some of those feelings, it was awful. Like, because I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
You know, I hated that I felt like I'm used to pumping the brakes through life, essentially. You know, that's what depression essentially does, is you're driving with your foot on the brake, you know? And, you know, this was more like just, you know, putting your foot to the floor on the gas. And it was weird, you know? So, yeah, I can't imagine going through it for it was only like a week for me, and that was enough. I can't imagine it for a month or 2 months or whatever.
What Brian's not telling you, and thank you for trying to be so sweet and not mention, I'm a horrible housekeeper.
Oh, I wasn't even referencing that at all. It was just amazing that you just powered through everything. It was, you know, just clean everything. And then it was, oh, well, this needs done and this needs done. And this, you know, it was just, like I said, you were almost like just a constant to-do list. There was no, and normally you're the type that you'll do things and then you're like, okay, I'm done, you know, and you'll, you know, like, I need my me time now and, you know, the recovery. But there wasn't recovery. You were, you know, foot to the floor, like I said, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, at one point I was working, I was volunteering at a theater. I was going out and hanging out with friends a few times a week. I was doing all of this stuff at once. Before the mania, in comparison, I barely could handle a 40-hour-a-week job and I was exhausted. Then go from there, and overnight, I'm doing 1,000,001 things and cramming it. Like, I am living every part of life. And to go from one extreme to another is very jarring. And it's funny because I have had people say that they've met me during Mania, and they'll allude to actually missing the me that was manic. Not meaning it in a heart. They're not trying to be insulting or anything like that. But I can see that because that manic Jen is a lot of fun. I can only imagine because she's up for anything and will do just about anything. And, be goofy, be silly, be over the top, be crazy and fun. I'm sure very fun. But I'll sigh. Then I take medicine and I can't have that experience anymore. But it's so funny when you stop and you think about, because it really does bum me out. It bums me out that I can't have manic episodes more often. And it's such a weird experience because you normally, like depression, you don't want to be depressed.
No.
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah, you constantly want to run the other way. It's why I said and I'm making no light of it, but it's one of those situations where it's like, if you're gonna have one or the other, I'd rather have that because at least I can do things then.
Yes.
I'm not saying that one is better or worse than the other. It's just like, if you're gonna have to be saddled with one, I'd rather have one where I can still go do things than one that cripples me from leaving my room. But it's still awful. Like, you really just want that balance is what you want. You want your brain to go, hey, I've had enough. Maybe we should stay in tonight.
Right.
Not, hey, you know what else we can do?
Now, Henno, have you ever had that experience because I've experienced it a little bit with drinking. Like when you're in the height of your drinking, did you ever get those moments of invincibility?
Oh, that's what I drank for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Me too.
That's what I chased. That was the high. Yep. I mean, that was seriously the high. It was that, and that's what got me to finally accept the fact that I'm an alcoholic is when my therapist said, in some alcoholics, their brains release endorphins. When they hit a certain amount of alcohol in their brain starts to release endorphins, just like one hit of Coke or speed. But it just takes a lot of alcohol to get to that point. But yeah, I would chase that every night, and it didn't always happen.
Yeah.
Which
leads you to chase it even more. Because the more elusive it is, the more you chase it, and that's the horrible cycle of it.
Oh yeah, and then the hangover the next day is just, it's just as bad. It doesn't matter whether you got it or not.
Yeah.
But it's way less rewarding when you don't even have a fun night of, But it happened a lot for me when, let's just say, the next day, rather than get a hangover, I just decided to stay drunk.
Yep.
I could literally I literally could be in that state all day long. I was productive. Yeah. I would clean the house. I would go do my laundry. Unfortunately, I'd get behind in the wheel of a car and go drive, and even though my tolerance was high, I was hardly, legally able to drive. I would be personable. I would feel on top of the world.
Yeah, well,
so, I guess I can understand it a little bit.
I've mentioned on here a few times about how when I drank, how a lot of times it was I want to be who I am after 2 or 3 drinks because, I don't have that constant I shouldn't do this. And all that doubt kind of melts. And then that allows me to be free. And it's, like I said, that was the reason why when I was drinking at my most, that's why I did it, was because it allowed me to just exist without all the doubt and the second guessing and the fear. And I was able to just, hey, we're doing this. You want, let's go. And, kind of a thing, and, eventually you realize that that's really bad for you, so.
I was going to say, isn't that interesting that, I guess we're just, as human beings, not supposed to live in that state.
Yeah.
because everything that we do that puts us in that state or happens to us that puts us in that state is bad. What great as we feel, it's ultimately bad for us.
There's consequences.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what happens.
Basically, that's it. And it doesn't matter what your inspiration, what got you there.
Yeah.
There's always consequences. You're right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just, it's the next day or the next week or when stuff falls apart, you're like, back to the grind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, supposedly people can create that state on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have plenty of your, inspirational gurus who will tell you that they operate at that level all the time, and they seem to, and that you can do this too, and how effective you can be and operate at this level. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you hate to not take someone at their word, but it's very easy to be skeptical of that.
Well, because we know we've experienced consequences from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's what leads to that skepticism is like, no, I know what it's like to operate at this level, and it doesn't last. And what I end up with is worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it makes you wonder with the people who say you can do all that on your own. Is it's like, how is it that they're dealing with the consequences and the downsides to these things? Because, like Jen said, it's like usually if you meet somebody who's not manic or whatever, or not on any drugs, they're just I guess the drug they would be on is probably caffeine, but that they're just go from morning till night, and every day they do it, go, kind of a thing. It's one of those things that it's like they may not see consequences now, but eventually something's going to catch up to them. That not taking care of yourself. But there's some people that seem to get up, eat healthy, hit the gym, and they're just go all day long. And they get up the next day and the same thing. And you're like, how can you do this once, let alone 5-6 days a week? But maybe on the weekend they lay around eating nachos and watching football. We don't, necessarily know. Maybe that's how they recover. I don't know.
But it is very interesting when you stop and you look back on things. I mean, thankfully this time I didn't make any rash or, cause any reason to have severe consequences. So I'm very fortunate that happened.
And that's something to be said about Mania too, is that I think, especially if you haven't been diagnosed with anything, the problem with it a lot of times is you don't realize you're in it until you're in it or past it. And it's harder to seek help for those kind of situations because you're just doing whatever. And a lot of times people would just go, I just got a bunch of energy. It's no big deal. And they just keep going and going. And,
which is what I've been doing for the last few weeks.
Yeah. And it's what you did before you were diagnosed as well, know, and so it's one of those things that it's really difficult. So it's important to kind of know these things, because if you catch yourself acting like, especially if you're not that kind of person normally, and all of a sudden for a week or 2 weeks, you are just, running sunshine. You're just running full tilt. It's like, it's not that you're trying to find out if something's wrong with you necessarily. Well, you kind of are, but it's just like maybe take a step back and go, whoa, what's going on here? Or talk to the people around you to see if you're dealing with some of this stuff. Again, self-diagnosis is not something we're big fans on, but you have to notice it at some point before you are going to go get help,
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to rely on your support system. Include them in, keep them involved, makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. Article in Psych Central talks about tips to helping your loved one who has mania. Is 1, recognize the warning signs. It varies considerably from person to person, but for some people it takes several months to reach a full manic episode, while other symptoms peak in a day or two. There are similar symptoms loved ones can watch out for. early warning signs is, okay, one of the early warning signs is sleeping less. So staying up later in the day and waking up earlier, not feeling tired the next day. Yeah, I got 2-3 hours sleep at a time, and I felt amazing.
Yeah, which anyone who knows you knows is not anywhere near normal.
No. I'm a sleeper.
That's more my sleep schedule.
So look for sudden improvement in mood. It often can follow a depressed episode.
Yeah.
So some people mistake it as getting over the depression. Rather, they're in an upbeat or optimistic in a way that doesn't seem realistic. Almost a giddy feeling. So I was like, okay.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So do you think like all your ideas are awesome, and if somebody disagrees with you, you just cannot possibly comprehend how they can't see how this is a great idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And in my, for me, my self-esteem is so high that, yeah, if I come up with an idea and you try to stand in my way, I get really irritable really quickly, and I will dismiss you. It's like, no, you don't fit into my world, so no, go. My world, my happiness, my ideas are amazing. You almost build a bubble. I almost build a bubble around myself of awesomeness, and anything that doesn't fit gets dismissed.
Sounds like you kind of fit right into the distorted thinking list.
Yes. Yes, I do. Could go down the checklist. But, it is. It's very interesting when you stop and you look how everything intertwines. It really does. It all intertwines. Now, the next one, functional impairment is telling too. Oh, we skipped one here. Your family member might seem impatient and easily irritated. He may talk rapidly and express expansive and unrealistic ideas. For example, he may start pursuing financial schemes or go from being interested in websites to wanting to revise the World Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says. Pretty much. Nothing is too big to take on.
Yeah.
Because you are a genius. Yay. So, functional impairment is telling too. Is your loved one's behavior interfering with her life, including their work, relationships, and other activities? Fights with others are often signs of trouble. Okay, so that's something that's interesting. Because I don't really fight with people per se, but I can see how my behavior does affect relationships that I have and can lead to me not listening very well and being of service to others because I'm too busy being of service to myself.
Yourself, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it can be very frustrating for others, and I can see how things could very quickly escalate into fights and stuff. So the functional impairment is telling too. Is your loved one's behavior interfering with her life, including work, relationship, and other activities? Fights with others are often signs of trouble. So somebody could recognize a manic episode just by her husband's behavior at their son's soccer games. When he was well, he cheered with the rest of the parents. When he was ill, he screamed and argued with the coaches, one time even running onto a field. So, wow. Yes, I have been known to, I karaoke, I dance, and I get everybody else on the dance floor involved. I start talking with strangers, getting their input, and bringing them in on conversations, on dance groups, on whatever. I am that person. I don't even have to drink any, and everyone thinks I'm drunk as a skunk, but I haven't even touched a drop of liquor just because I'm basically life of the party.
Yeah, it's because most people, to behave that way, end up having drinks. Yeah, and it's, because more people tend to be like my situation than that. Yeah. Like they think, oh, I need this to drop some inhibitions, basically, and then I'm the life of the party.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your body is, just giving you that dose without it.
Yeah. My body's like, hey, let's have some fun. Woohoo! Party time. But as much as I'm talking about the fun aspects of it, there's some really dark aspects of it too. I want to make sure that I mention. Yeah. I've ruined relationships. I have done things that I'm not proud of. I will not list here. But I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of. I've done a lot of things that, given a normal state of mind, I would not have chosen to do or have done. So, I did them. I stand by them. There's my actions, and I deal with those consequences because I did it. But I will say that I wouldn't have done some of these things in a normal state of affairs. So it did play a role, but it's all part of me. So there are some really heavy, hard, dark stuff that goes along with the bipolar, as amazing as you feel. Just like an alcoholic.
Yep.
As amazing as you feel how much fun everybody has around you, you can make some very bad decisions that can greatly affect and negatively affect your life in an instant. Mm-hmm. And that's how quickly things like that change. Like you said, Hannah, you made the correlation between, drugs and alcohol and mania, and it's all very similar. They're all in the same vein. The consequences of some of your actions can absolutely ruin your life.
Yeah.
And that's
really quick. I wanted to also mention, I thought it was interesting that, unless there's more in your article there, that one of the things that I noticed was you can see, if you've been around the person long enough, you can see decision making. You can actually see how they make, like, what type of things that they're doing and, like, willing to do. And like we were talking about, like you, Jen, you mentioned that if you only sleep for a few hours and then you're like, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do, it's like, or like when you just out of nowhere would say, this or whatever. It's like, those are those kind of things that to me, it like perks up my ears a little bit because I'm like, this isn't normal. So if you're around a person, look for stuff like that and kind of, when you see stuff like that, pay closer attention to other things to make sure, because, it stinks when somebody gets going down one of these roads because you don't know how long it's going to take to come out of it. And, like the decision making stuff can just get worse and worse and worse. Like a lot of times it does not just, it doesn't just all of a sudden get better usually. Usually it's got to progress pretty far, and then, and that's the thing is untreated. This can get just really bad to where you're making really, really bad decisions that can be very detrimental to your well-being and to your life, So and like you said,
a lot of it revolves around money and sex too.
Yeah. And
there's an impulsiveness to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said if someone's behaving out of their kind of normal, air quote, range, especially if they have bipolar, pay attention to it. The problem is, there may be some people who if but you can't use it in jest. You can't be like, you can't use it in parallel the way a lot of idiots would be like, oh, she's on her period. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't, oh, what are you're bipolar flaring up? You can't do, dumb stuff like that, but, if you have a good dialogue with the person you're with or whatever, or your friend or whatever, you know, just be like, hey, I noticed you're acting, you know, a little different, and kind of gauge from there. You know, maybe they don't even realize it. Because I don't know, did you ever realize, like, well, you said earlier, you didn't realize it until you're well into it. Same with me in depression, so.
Yeah, I'm either well into it or past it when it finally clicks in. And the funniest part about it is the way my mind works when I'm in a manic state is I justify everything. So the lack of sleep, which is usually a dead giveaway because I'm a huge sleeper, and then I'm going to like 2-3 hours a night. Usually that's a dead giveaway that something's not right. In my head, I'm like, oh, sweet, I got extra time.
Yeah. Cheat code. Yeah.
My body just doesn't need this extra sleep right now.
Yeah.
I'm probably in a manic state. That's not the first thing. It's not even on the radar of things that pop in my head when I'm not sleeping right.
Yeah.
And for anybody else, that's, yeah, duh. You know, that's the first thing that pops in your head, right? It makes the most sense. It's logical.
Why am I not sleeping? This isn't normal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not logical at all. And impulse control is out the window. Which, that's the next one, which is set limits around self-destruction. Can be incredibly self-destructive.
Yeah. Just
like drugs, just like alcohol. Incredibly self-destructive. And the person has no idea how much they're self-destructing while they're in the moment. And it's so tough to... It is, I mean, now that I'm making more and more of the correlation between drinking and mania, I'm starting to see more and more similarities there.
Yeah, because when you're really drunk and acting like an idiot, you don't realize how much of an idiot you're being until the next day when everyone else is like, dude, you were such a nightmare last night.
And when you stop and you think about, because part of it, and with mania, if you confront somebody, you have to be very careful. Because if you confront somebody, they will get really irritable and will turn on you. Just like someone who's had way too much to drink.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. You
try to stop them and they get irritable and in your face, and it's not pretty.
Right. I think you've had enough. I'll tell you when I've had enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So mania is often characterized by lack of impulse control, and that's where individuals with bipolar disorder can get into trouble. That's why it's critical to establish limits around a person's impulse behaviors when they're well. For instance, say your loved one is impulsive around money and has emptied your bank account before. Reduce his or her access to credit cards and credit limits and monitoring their accounts online. Younger people might do best with an allowance from their parents. Basically set structures and goals around the kind of damage the person can do. So, which is a huge thing because you need that. I mean, just like, you know, an alcoholic or somebody who has something else taking control of their lives at the moment, you have to set up these like roadblocks to protect them from themselves.
Yeah. And doing it while they're well is a much better practice. It's, you know, because then when they do
take an active role in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, plus when you do have bouts of mania, you're not all of a sudden going, oh boy, here's a manic episode. I got to take your credit cards away, you know, like, which would be met with incredible resistance and, you know,
yes.
And may lead to a kind of, whiplash effect because you may try to limit them and then they go too far the other way, you know, but, you know, so again, putting these things into place, it's similar to like we've talked about therapy, you know, doing it while you're feeling good is great because then when you don't feel good, you know, you have those tools in place to kind of deal with it. And same with this, it's a very good preventative measure. Like you said, it minimalizes the potential for damage.
Exactly.
That's great.
Another one is help them delay their impulses. A really good one for this is Because there is hypersexuality when it comes to mania, is get the person's number and call them back tomorrow. You're busy tonight, hang out with me, instead of going home with that person tonight, get their number and call them back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mania, you don't follow through on anything. So odds are you won't call that person the next day, and it'll be a passing flight of fancy, basically. So,
right.
Always a good call. So another one is, I lost my place. I apologize. Call the police whenever necessary.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
If there's a physical threat to anyone in the household, or if your loved one is actively threatening suicide, the police need to be involved.
Okay. Yeah. That's, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much, and I would say even the next step further in saying if they're at a harm to themselves or to somebody else, you get the police involved, you get medical help immediately. And it's just, it doesn't even have to necessarily be physical harm to themselves. If someone's in a bad mental state and you think that they are potentially harming themselves, basically going to making bad decisions enough that you can't stop them from making these really bad decisions that are going to ruin their lives, step in, maybe even get a psych counsel. Get them the help that they need, because they may not appreciate you at the moment. They won't, I guarantee it. They will appreciate you once things are settled down and they can look at things clearly and actually make a logical decision. It would make a whole big difference. So just try to be the best friend you can be and the best support team that you can be without trampling on their, civil rights or anything. But
yeah,
those pesky little civil rights things.
Yeah, but definitely that the thing makes a great point. Not just if if someone's threatening physical harm to someone else, but if they are talking about harming themselves. Definitely call 911 and let police or whatever deal with the situation at that point. Because that's what they'll do is they'll take them probably to a hospital and then, it'll go from there.
Exactly. Don't assume medication is a cure-all. It is not the cure for anything. Don't forget the importance of therapy and positive life events, interactions with close friends or family members. Mm-hmm. So,
That's a great point, because as we've talked many times on here, medicine is not a cure. It's a tool. It's a coping tool. It helps you deal with your situation, but it won't cure it.
Exactly. Well, those are the highlights from that article. And I think we talked on some really good points. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. Really,
right.
Other than, as it said all the way through, just if you realize that if the symptoms on there sound familiar, talk to your doctor about it. Don't put it off. This is one. Depression and anxiety are bad enough if you put them off. Bipolar can be, just as bad or worse if you put it off, because it tends to just get worse and worse and worse. Like your decision making can get bad. It doesn't tend to just go away. You generally need some real help with dealing with it, because it's so different from the other types of mental illness,
And mania is one of those things. As my doctor, I've had 2 manic episodes, like severe manic episodes. One was years ago, one was just recently. And, I'll have small ones, but nothing major, but 2 major ones. After the first major one, I went to the doctor and we were talking and, he put me on medicine. And he said, well, I'm not having them, so, why do I need to go on medicine? I'm done with it. He's like, think about it this way. When you're manic and your impulse control is completely to the floor, you are so open and susceptible to everybody and everything. He's like, how easy would it be for you in one blink of an eye to completely destroy your life as you know it? Now, you're telling me you want to risk that? Or do you want to take a pill every day?
Yeah.
And that's why I do it. That's why I take my pill every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because, quite frankly, in a blink of an eye, I could easily, when I'm in a manic state, blink of an eye, I could easily destroy my life.
Yeah.
Yep. And
it's similar to being, it's in the vein of getting vaccinated for something. The point of it isn't that you won't get whatever it is. Like if you get a flu shot, it won't guarantee you won't get the flu. What it generally does is if you do get the flu, it will make it generally to where you don't suffer as bad. And the pills and therapy and stuff, it's kind of the same idea. It's not saying that it'll completely get rid of mania or bipolar, but it makes it to where when you do have a manic episode, hopefully it won't be, the duration won't be as bad, or, those kind of things. Because again, there's no cure for it as it stands. So it's, it's just a treatment.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for us to wrap up then. You can, if you want to continue the conversation with me, I forgot where I was. Sorry, folks. Continue the conversation with me. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can reach the show at our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. Our email address, thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And Heno, how about you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Heno, and you can find me on Facebook at Heno Heiter, and also you can always get a hold of me through our Crazy Life Facebook page.
Yay! And you, Brian?
Before I go into the links, I wanted to reference, I can't find, I was trying to look for it real quick here. There's a podcast that I referred to on a previous episode that I think it was the Risk podcast. And a guy talks about going through a manic episode and how he went off his meds and different stuff. And it is a brutal story, but it really kind of opens your eyes to what is possible when a person goes through a manic episode. I'll find it and I'll put it in the show notes. I wish I had it here. Maybe I'll put something in, after we're done to where it'll be like, it was this episode. But, if not, it'll be in the show notes. So go check that out if you're curious to hear a story on that. Or I'm sure there's tons of stories you can find just by Googling, Mania, or go, if you're on Reddit, r/mania or bipolar probably has tons of stories that people can tell you that they've gone through. Just to read so you can kind of understand and maybe know what to look for in people. Because again, the more educated we all are on a lot of these things, maybe the more we can help others find help before it gets bad, to where maybe their suffering won't be as bad as it would be otherwise. And having said all that, you can find me on, Twitter at Stunami. You can also follow the show to see when new episodes are posted at the Crazy Life Pod on Twitter. You can check out the other show I'm on, which is Salty Language, at salty_language, or at saltylanguage.com. And that show is not safe for work. So if you download that, make sure there aren't sensitive ears around. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/Crazy Life Podcast. And we're also part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. Make sure you subscribe, to the show so you don't miss any episodes. And plus it helps boost us. And also if you get the show through like iTunes or Stitcher, they usually have like a like or a share button, something like that. So please use that. And also, if you're on iTunes, please review us, because that helps us, in the search, so other people can find us quicker.
Awesome.
Let's see. Did I forget anything there? No, I don't think I did. Okay, so then I'll say that we're not doctors, therapists, or trained professionals, just three people, sharing tips and things that we've found and our experiences. If you do find yourself, if this stuff on here sounds familiar to you and you think you may have, you may be dealing with this, please go seek professional help. Don't self-diagnose. And, also I forgot to mention the show should not be taken as a replacement for therapy of any kind.
Correct.
And any, whatever we say here, again, go talk to your doctor if it triggers something in you, or it, sounds like something you're suffering from. And then also, of course, if you're feeling suicidal or if you're planning suicide, or you're going to act on it, please reach out to someone in your support system. If you don't really have a support system, call 911 or call your doctor, or, if you have insurance, on the back of a lot of insurance cards, there's a mental health number you can call. Or on our Facebook page, there's a page of links that has a bunch of places you can call or talk to online to try to help you walk you through your crisis. There's help out there if you want it. So please don't act on the suicidal thoughts.
Absolutely. It's so important, folks. Just make sure that you surround yourself with good people, good support system. And as always, make sure you wiggle your toes and keep breathing. Have a great week, folks.